right, welcome in to Thursday Night Ticket. We're gonna usually, we do some of the breakfast stuff, where we have like breakfast and games. Tonight it's gonna be football and food. You see me kind of eating here. Just walked in the door. My guy Matt Weatherby. How's it going, Matt?
It's going good.
There's already been about 50 college games this week because we're in the first or the second week of that 58 straight games, which is absolutely amazing. There's actually did you watch any of the games on Tuesday or Wednesday?
I have not. I've been focused on other stuff, but I mean it's if you're worried about the smaller conferences, the Conference USA, the American Conference, boy, Tuesday and Wednesday nights are your nights.
It was interesting. I was watching Arkansas State and South Alabama. It was like the worst game of all time.
Yeah, 15-14.
There was about 8,000 penalties. I got it. Let me see if I can find the penalties. It was so ridiculous. There was a penalty. Butch Jones is the coach at Arkansas State. Now Arkansas State all of a sudden is 2-1 in the division, and he kicked the Clune Van Andel kicked a field goal with no time left to win at South Alabama. There's about 12 people in the stands. But I had watched it, and I invested so much time into it, and I'm like, man, I got to keep watching it at this point because that New Mexico State Liberty game was on the other channel. It was pretty good. The other game wasn't. And then last night I was watching, I was at my boss's party and we were watching Jacksonville State and Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
Tonight, right now, Tulsa's playing East Carolina. East Carolina just kicked a field goal to go up 3-0 early in the game. But really, Friday night is when some of the bigger names. There's a couple ranked teams playing, and North Carolina is traveling out to Cal to play at 10:30 as a big underdog. And then obviously, you're the SEC this weekend takes center stage. LSU Vanderbilt at 12, and all the games are at different times. Imagine that. Ole Miss at Georgia at 3:30, 5 versus 9. Huge game for both teams. And then late at night, Tennessee at Alabama, 7:30. USC also plays Notre Dame at 7:30. Two ranked teams playing. Utah plays BYU. Massive game in that league. That's at 8 o'clock. So there's a bunch of different, ranked opponent games this week, and I feel like we talked about that a while ago. We knew this was going to be the time where second midway through October, all these teams are going to start playing and start knocking each other off. I guess you got to be excited for this week, right?
Yeah, it's a good weekend. I did have this thought, it was purely a just looking at it, spot based, not really one that you'd expect. What if Louisville just goes out there and turns the ACC on its head?
I mean, I wouldn't be stunned.
Because I think that's in the realm of possibility. Like Miami feels like this juggernaut and this unbeaten. But if I know anything about Mario Cristobal, it's that he's gonna let something slip through the cracks. It's just gonna happen.
These Friday night games are always they're always, I feel like they're always more difficult for the teams that are the higher ranked teams. See over the years, you've seen a lot of blowouts, but you've also seen a lot of games where this higher ranked team struggles. It's Louisville's playing on. Everyone's watching this game. It's 7 o'clock on ESPN. Once again, everybody watches all these games, but Friday night, all the coaches from the other teams will be watching, and everyone's going to be getting ready for their game on Saturday. So they're going to be sitting down and watching, a game, and I feel like, you could be right. I mean, Miami's a huge favorite, like, you know,
13
13
and
and
a
a
half.
half points. And
Mhm.
Louisville's not terrible.
No, no, they really aren't. They're a solid football team. Now, what I will say in terms of Louisville is that when I watch Miller Moss play football at quarterback, I really want to like pull my hair out. Like it's been the few times that I've turned the TV on, and maybe I just caught the bad spots. God, I hope I did. Man, it's been like pulling hair. Like it's like why doesn't this offense go? It looks like it's supposed to go. It's designed to go. They have the weapons to go, and then they just don't. Sometimes. I mean, they put up good numbers this year. Don't get me wrong about that. But like I'm watching the Virginia game, and that's a game that Louisville should have ran away with. And quite frankly, like you just watch it and the way that their offense operated between the 20s, they moved the ball so well. They really did. And they just kept getting in their own way. So there's that. And what I will say to the credit of like Miami and this potential upset is generally when you see these Friday night upsets, they're on the road.
Yes.
That's these high ranked teams are on the road. Like it's a short week. It's a travel week too. They're just not in the right mindset, and so it can catch them off guard. You look at Nebraska and Minnesota. That's 7.5 point spread, and Nebraska can get got there easily. Minnesota's a really well coached team by PJ Fleck, and their secondary players are good, and Nebraska's not exactly been like blowing everybody out by any means.
It's
So
interesting. Yeah, that line is moving towards, it opened at 5.5 and now it's 7.5. Which says to me that people are betting Nebraska here. But yeah, once again, it's at Minnesota. Minnesota's 4-2. I think that's an interesting game.
mhm. Yeah, it's one of those spots. Like it's one of the if I was picking one on Friday to say like, pick against the spread, I'm picking Minnesota of these games that are available because one, I don't know enough about San Jose State or Utah State. That's on me. Probably should be better. North Carolina's god awful. Just terrible. The Bill Belichick experiment, it should be done. I don't know why it's not done. It feels like something where like they're just gonna limp along to the finish, and then at the end of the year, probably look in different directions. I would assume because this is
Yes,
ugly.
San Jose State, excuse me. Their quarterbacks, he's thrown for a lot of yards. He's thrown for 1,809 yards,
Hmm.
13 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. They can score a little bit. They lost to Wyoming last week. I feel like that was the snow game,
It
35-28.
was.
Um, which is amazing. You're sitting here and it's 80 degrees and you're watching this game in the snow and December, on October 11th. You're like, what's going
Yeah,
on?
that's crazy.
They've scored 28, 35, 29, 31, and they got blown out by Texas. So, and they lost to
Yeah,
Central Michigan early in the season. But they can score points. I just it's that game to me is it's a tough game to call. I mean, both those teams
yeah,
are struggling a little bit. I wouldn't tell anybody to bet that game, but
yeah.
um,
And I mean, San Jose State's calling card has been offense at least for the last couple of years. Last year, they produced the Triple Crown winner in college football, which was unprecedented. And Nick Nash, he didn't win the Blendikoff, but that's neither here nor there. Um, but Triple Crown winner nonetheless, regardless of who he played. So San Jose State can and has proven that they will produce some offense.
all right. I mean, we'll start to look at Saturday here
Yeah.
because it's just so many big games. Let's take a look at um, LSU Vanderbilt right away. Um, Vanderbilt is favored here at home, 2.5. I mean, it's a massive, massive game for both teams. I mean, LSU basically at this point can't lose another game. You'd think until maybe I don't know.
If they lose another one, they better win out.
Yes, and I don't see that happening. But you know,
Mhm.
Nussmeier's a pretty good player. They give Vanderbilt a 60.7% chance to win this game on the matchup predictor, which is, you know, mind-boggling to me. But you know, I mean, look, if Vanderbilt can beat LSU, a top 10 team, all of a sudden now, with Vanderbilt's wins, you would have to think, you know, maybe they're in the you know, win over South Carolina. Maybe they're in the discussion to make a playoff, right?
They're squarely in the playoff discussion. Not only are they squarely in the playoff discussion, they're squarely in the SEC championship discussion as of right now. Just the way things are at the top. In this game, I like Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt is a team that plays with an edge. You know, obviously they lost to Alabama in that game, but that was really the first like showing of weakness from Diego Pavia this season. He's been very good this year, and for really a half of football, he was pretty good against Alabama. LSU's defense is good. We know LSU's defense is good. Can LSU score? Uh, like Garrett Nussmeier is a very good player. He is as talented as you could want out of your quarterback position, and it's not working. I don't know why it's not working, but it's not working. Like they don't run the football very well. Their offensive line isn't great. It doesn't appear that he's really started to mesh with his new receiver room because it is a fairly new receiver room with the exception of Aaron Anderson. So, you know, does LSU get it together, or is this the start of Brian Kelly looking for new employment?
It might be. I mean, you know, my buddy Kishore, who's an LSU fan, he's about fed up with him. But you know, we'll see how that goes.
It is
Uh,
it is a fascinating thing with LSU is you look back over these last couple of years, really when they had Jaden Daniels, and you're like, man, look at that offense. Even last year, you're like, man, look at that offense. That offense is a championship offense. If only they could literally stop anyone. That's
Now
all.
it's the opposite.
Yeah, and now you flip the script. Like that's a championship defense that LSU has down in Baton Rouge, but that's not a championship offense. So, and to be honest with you, I'm not even sure it's a playoff offense right now, the way they've played.
I don't
And
think LSU makes the playoffs. I think they lose another game somewhere, at least
yeah,
another game. I just don't
I
think.
I think they're going to lose on Saturday. I think Vanderbilt's going to win this football game. And I feel very confident. Like the line's 2.5, and I can tell you I feel better about Vanderbilt winning than looking up at UGA being minus 7.5 than I feel about Georgia winning on Saturday.
The problem here with LSU is, I mean, and you talk about, you know, look, if LSU wins its next 3 games, they're in the playoff. But let me tell you their next 3 games: at Vanderbilt, number 17, versus Texas A&M, number 4, at Alabama, number 6. They're not winning all 3 of those games, and they might not win any of those games. So,
I mean, like, don't forget. Like, I'm sitting here looking at it with you. They end the season at Oklahoma.
correct.
John Mateer's not going to be fresh off of hand surgery when they go to Oklahoma. Like, I don't think they're winning that game. I don't think, to be honest with you, I look at this and I see them beating Arkansas and see them beating Western Kentucky. I don't know which team I would pick them against as I look at their schedule in those other 4 games.
Well,
I
like
really
Penn State at this point, or Florida State. I mean, the 2 teams, you know, a couple teams that were ranked at top 10, and you look at the end of the year, and they're all going to have 4 or 5 losses, something like that,
yeah.
at least.
But I mean, I think the crazy thing is that we're sitting here in the middle of October and LSU's still in the top 10. Like this isn't like something that we're not sitting here talking about the demise of a program already. We're sitting here essentially predicting it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I mean, I just think, you know, when you look at this stuff, like I can see, like I've watched them play. They're not a top 10 team. Oh, look, they had 1 loss, but you know, Vanderbilt does too. They're not a 1-loss team. You know, I think, you know, they're still highly ranked because of that early win over Clemson.
That win against Clemson really, I think it jaded people's views of LSU a lot.
This is why I say don't rank anyone until what the rankings come out this week, right? For BCS, or is it next week?
Let's see. I think it's next week. Let's see.
Nobody should get ranked until you figure that out, and then you figure out like where these teams are, because nobody had Indiana number 3, nobody had Texas A&M number 4, like nobody had Vanderbilt like this highly. Nobody had Texas Tech at 7. Like just let some games play out before you do this. But it's whatever.
So actually, we were both very off. The very first edition of the college football playoff rankings is Tuesday, November 4th.
November.
So right. On election
day. Now
day,
I gotta. All right, you gotta rank them before November 4th. But,
you do.
Yeah, I would say, look, wait until October. There's a game before we talk about that next ranked game at 3:30. There's a game at 4:00. I got it. Talk about the Big 12 every week. BYU is at the top of the standings along with Texas Tech, and Texas Tech plays Arizona State. Arizona State's 2-1 in the conference, 4-2 overall. Texas Tech is 3-0, 6-0 overall in the top 10. Massive game for Texas Tech on the road. Texas Tech does not play BYU until November 8th, the week after the rankings come out. Like by that time, Texas Tech and BYU both 6-0 right now. And if those two teams are unbeaten going into that game, which BYU's got a huge game with Utah this weekend. Utah's 5-1 rivalry game, man. It's a big time game. We'll talk about that. And Iowa State. So BYU's got 3 more games against ranked teams: Utah, Texas Tech, and Cincinnati. So great. That Big 12 has been good. Cincinnati's ranked. Utah, Arizona State's been ranked. They've been good. Houston's still 5-1. Iowa State's 5-2. But that's a big game for Texas Tech. So and Arizona State.
Well, this is the question I would ask of that Texas Tech and Arizona State game is for Arizona State, who's starting at quarterback? Because last game they got blown out when Jeff Sims was the starting quarterback, as they should. I don't know what Kenny Dillingham was thinking. Like, I like Kenny Dillingham a lot. I think he is a fantastic coach. What did you see in Jeff Sims? Please God. I cannot understand. He's bounced around to every P4 program, it feels like, in the country. He was at Tech. He was at Nebraska. I think he was somewhere else in between there. Now he's at Arizona State.
Is Levitt hurt?
Yeah, he is. Jeff Sims is awful. He's a terrible quarterback. Like, I don't mean to like dive in on the guy or anything. But just strictly football speaking, he's not a good football player at the Power 4 level. And I'll say this, is I don't think it matters who starts a quarterback for Arizona State. I think Texas Tech is that good, and I think they're going to beat them regardless. If Sam Levitt was rolling into this game,
I've read some stuff saying that he could be back, but
yeah, that's one of those situations where you're probably dealing with a guy that's not 100%. But even if Sam Levitt were 100%, I still don't think Arizona State is going to win this football game.
Yeah, they're probably not. I mean, you're almost I mean, I guess they're trying to get their season back going, but you almost want him. You almost rather him get healthy and then go, and try to win the rest of your games.
I mean, listen, the playoffs.
You're in a hole at that point if you don't win.
Yeah. The playoffs are pretty much out of the question entirely already for Arizona State with the 2 losses and the loss they have against Utah last week. I get that their backup was in.
Yeah.
They're probably already out of it.
Yes.
So, at that point, just protect the kids' health, because this front 4 for Texas Tech is so good. It's so good. It's a transfer class, and I get that, but man, they've meshed well together and they've played well together. And I'm going to pull up Texas Tech's schedule because I don't know who beats them. I don't think Arizona State does. I don't think Oklahoma State does. I really don't think Kansas State does. BYU, maybe if they're sitting there, that's a trip-up spot. but then you got UCF and West Virginia. Like this,
They could be 12-0. I mean, yeah, they could be 12-0 sitting, I mean, with a bye.
Yeah, I have a I always have a hard time for people who haven't done it before. People who haven't been there and like tasted the success and
Yep.
know what it feels like. I have a problem predicting them to go 12-0 just because I think at some point during the season you
Let
are
down.
probably going to get a little too much taste of
Yeah.
that success.
You got to
And
let
you're gonna
down
get a
somewhere.
Yeah, and what I'll say about that is there's no way to predict that letdown spot. Like you just can't do it. It's not possible. You can pick bad scheduling dynamics and such as that, but it's not possible to predict when a team's just not going to show up. But no, Texas Tech should the way the rest of that Big 12 looks, they should walk into the college football playoff. Like walk into the college football playoff. By and all, they should walk into the college football playoff.
We got about 10 minutes till this Pittsburgh Bengals game starts. Steelers are 5.5. I just, full disclosure, I just bet Steelers 5.5 in Real Madrid at plus 180 for the weekend there in a parlay. So, I don't, I don't understand. I don't see how the Bengals compete in this game, but I don't know. Maybe Flacco helps them, but Aaron Rodgers has been good, so we'll see.
What I said and what I think their game plan is going to be, at least in terms of Cincinnati and getting Joe Flacco like accommodated, is if I had to guess the first half, you're probably going to see a lot of short stuff, trying to get the ball into Jamar Chase's hands, into T. Higgins' hands. Try to produce some passing game. Hopefully, you get a little bit of help from Chase Brown in the running game. But when you start to feel those guys creep up, probably in the second half, after you've ran a lot of that short stuff, that's when they're probably going to start taking their shots. And that's when Cincinnati was good last week, was when Joe Flacco just, closed his eyes, said, F it, Jamar's down there, tossed the football. Like that's how they scored and kept it close with Green Bay. So that's really the only path you have to success against Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh's a better team. They're getting better on defense. Aaron Rodgers looks like he's starting to feel a lot more comfortable in that offense, and they're getting healthier. Jaylen Warren's back from his injury. He should be completely healthy and ready to go.
It's interesting. We go to the 3:30 games. Iowa State, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Indiana. I know the Penn State people were like, "Oh, we should get Curt Cignetti." Like,
no.
Blah blah blah. He ain't coming.
It was never going to
$93 million. Look, why would you leave Indiana, where you're like a king, right now, for a dumpster fire? Like, I know Penn State or whatever, but it doesn't it's the big. It doesn't the whole landscape of football has changed at this point, and a lot of players have decommitted from Penn State from this class, because that one thing Franklin was a very good recruiter, but people are decommitting till they find out what's going on. But it doesn't Texas Tech, Texas Tech, they were a good program a long time ago too. SMU, all these, it doesn't matter where you're at. Texas Tech, BYU, Arizona State last year, SMU last year, Boise, Virginia's ranked, Oregon, Texas. I mean, South Florida is ranked 19th. Missouri, the list goes on and on. You might be in a better spot being in Indiana at this point. They just, they got guys there. People want to come play for this guy. He's clearly a winner. I mean, he talks the game, and he's got kids coming in, and he's doing all this with, kind of a recruiting class that's a little bit further down. So, national coach of the year, whatever. But I just kind of wanted to get that out there. And Indiana's hosting Michigan State. Obviously, the big game at 3:30 is Ole Miss and Georgia. Two coaches that coached on the same staff at Alabama. But were you shocked that Cignetti stayed? I mean, I guess you can't be shocked. They offered, they gave him $11.6 million a year. Like, no one's leaving, to go to Penn State for the guy. They just gave him $12 million a year. Like, why would you leave?
Yeah. No, I don't think that prior to the extension he was taking the job. Like, I think I saw the name floated around, and I think it would it was obviously in Pat Kraft and Penn State's best interest to at least give him a call him a couple times, make him say no a few times. I put it at almost a 0% chance as soon as the name popped up. It was not a spot where it felt like Curt Cignetti was ever going to leave Indiana. It is something that he has built. It is his thing. And quite frankly, right now, the level of buy-in that Indiana has, I don't think it's that far off from what Penn State has. Like Penn State has been throwing money at the problem for the better part of 2 years now, and it hasn't worked. Like they've been renovating and investing and all this other stuff, and it just hasn't mattered. Like the recruiting classes are good, but they're not great. So it's a brand, and that brand is going to be what gets you the good quality head coaching job. Like the
Yeah.
good candidates. The good candidates are going to be interested because Penn State is a good brand.
Yep. But
They
the thing
still
with
have this
Indiana is too, like the Big Ten right now, and you know the fact that it's called the Big Ten at this point, you know, with what is it, 16 teams?
Yeah.
You know, it's ridiculous. But you know, Indiana, you know, this is the second year in a row. You know, they were in the playoff, and people were like, should they be in?" Well, you know, they played well, and they made a good, you know, showing for themselves in the playoffs, but they've already beaten a top 10 team in Illinois and Oregon, a top 10 team on the road. You know, a team that people were thinking, you know, could be a top, you know, number one, and was number one last year going into the playoffs. And you look at their schedule, they got Michigan State, UCLA, Maryland, Penn State, Wisconsin, Purdue. Like, it's not the hardest schedule in the world. You know, right now, Wisconsin, Purdue, Penn State, Michigan State, and Maryland are five of the bottom six teams in the league. And UCLA is 2-4 because they've turned it around after they fired their coach. But,
Yeah.
you know, they don't have the hardest schedule in the world, you know, and it, once again, like, you know, you're not playing these other teams. You know, you're going to have to probably, if you win out, you're going to play, you know, obviously in the playoff game and the championship game and the playoffs and all this stuff. But you have a chance here every single year to compete for you know, East Carolina touchdown, by the way, 10-0, to compete. So once again, I mean, it's they're playing Michigan State. They're going to blow them out. Let's get to the, you know, we'll get to the good game there.
What I will say in regards of like just I know you're looking at Indiana's schedule there. How many ranked teams do Ohio State, Miami, and Indiana, teams currently ranked 1, 2, 3? How many ranked teams do they play for the rest of the year?
Nobody.
Combined?
That's
None.
the thing with these leagues now. I mean, when you play in these super leagues,
Yeah.
like it's not like it was, you know, if the league was like it used to be, you know, everybody's ranked, but like, you know, Oregon, you know, teams like, you know, USC, obviously, whatever. But yeah, they don't play anybody. You know, they you know,
Yeah.
Penn State, but you know, they're going to annihilate Penn State. You know, Michigan, but like they don't play. You know, they don't really play any decent teams anymore. So, you know,
Yeah.
Ohio State could slip up somewhere. I don't know where. I don't think they do. But you know,
Michigan.
I don't know. Maybe they struggle against UCLA a little bit because, you know, with the way they're playing now. But you know, I don't see it.
It'll be Michigan.
But that, I mean, it
I'm
won't
not
even
saying they're
matter.
going to lose. I'm not saying they'll lose that game by any means. Like that's not what I'm sitting here predicting.
Yeah, and it won't even matter if they lose it because they're still getting in the playoff.
No, I mean you saw that last year. No, but we'll shift back to where game day's headed. Athens, Georgia. You know, 9-5, spread 7.5 points. I'm very curious. Like this is Georgia's a
A
football
lot of
program
points, man.
and a team that I know very well. I really don't see where they're getting the 7.5 number. I really don't.
They're really even. I mean, you look
Yeah.
at the stats. I mean, they're pretty. I know Ole Miss, you know, they played some tight games against Arkansas, Kentucky, Washington State, LSU. I mean, all one-score games. But
Yeah, and
so is Georgia's played a couple of those and lost to
they have.
Alabama. So
Yeah, they have, and I think that's really where you get that 7.5 is you're getting a feeling from people in Vegas that Ole Miss is a little bit overranked. They're overvalued based on what their wins are, and who they are as a team, which is fine. But the one thing that I do know, there's actually a couple things I know about Georgia. One, the number one thing that I know about them is that they don't like to play in first halves. This is the second year in a row now this has happened. I don't know what goes on in the first half, but they just refuse to play football. I really don't get it. And what I will say is that the script is out on Georgia. It's these long scoring drives where you keep the ball out of the offense's hands and you just grind away on them. And then you've pretty much salted away your first half, and as long as you've stopped Georgia twice, then you're looking at a multiple score lead. It's what Alabama did, it's what Auburn did or tried to do, and God, who am I missing? There's another team that I'm thinking about that Georgia's played that I just can't remember. They played somebody else horribly in the first half.
Tennessee.
Tennessee, yes, they did not play well against Tennessee in the first half either. So this is very much a thing. And Georgia struggles with eye discipline on the back end. They're a young defense and they struggle with eye discipline. You see a lot of those jet motions and stuff like that, rip off nice big chunks, and you're able to sustain drives on it because their eye discipline is lacking. Like they're a young defense and their eye discipline is lacking. And Lane Kiffin's going to be able to spread you out, and he's going to run an offense. Are you going to be able to score with them in the first half? I think is my biggest question. But I would like to believe that Georgia's going to win this football game, but I think just sitting here and maybe it's a thing where Ole Miss is overvalued and they're overranked and all this other stuff, and I would love to be proven wrong. But as of right now, I'm picking Ole Miss to win this football game.
I think that's. I mean, he's gonna. Lane Kiffin will have him ready to play. I mean, it's a really really interesting game to me. It's in the day. I would like to see it at night, but as it is, there's a. I think they probably could have flipped that Tennessee Alabama and Ole Miss Georgia game and to whatever. But it is what it is.
I will say, as a fan, I love a night game. I really do. Like the atmosphere at night is different. I
Yes.
don't think it matters where you go. But just as a fan, in terms of like the timing of everything, 3:30 is like a money spot in terms of a time slot. I really enjoy the 3:30 game.
Can you tell me why Notre Dame is still ranked 13th? Why is Notre Dame 13 playing USC as a 10-point favorite? Why are they number 13 again? Who have they beaten?
In terms of who they've beaten nobody.
Arkansas, Boise State, Purdue, NC State. What?
It's really I think it's a case of kind of what you're looking at last year. Like it was a case last year where Notre Dame knew they had to go and they had to beat the brakes off everybody after you lose to NIU, right? You have to win out and you have to beat the brakes off everybody. So far, that's what they've done. They've won by 26, they've won by 43, they won by 21, and they won by 29. Like they've been beating the crap out of everybody, which is fine. And I would assume that they're pairing that along with the fact that the two teams they lost to
Miami and
lost
Texas.
by 4 points, and the two teams they lost to are currently ranked number 2 and number 4 in the country.
I almost hope USC wins this game, to be honest. So like we can just like kind of just say, look, you're like you can't, you lost 3 games all to ranked teams, and every other team on the schedule you played were whatever. But they're probably gonna win. So they're gonna be in the playoff, I guess, because if they win against USC, they're not losing to BC, they're not losing to Navy, they're not losing to Pitt, they're not losing to Syracuse, they're not losing to Stanford. So you got to figure. They're going to go into that game, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-2, and probably be in the mix for a playoff spot.
you with a 10-2 record and the two teams they lost to, I would almost, I would usher them into the playoff if they finish
Well,
10-2.
obviously the TV wants, everybody wants
Yeah.
Notre Dame in the playoff. They made
Yeah.
it to the final last year. But
Yeah.
listen, if they lose this, they're out. I mean,
And
100% they're out.
what I think is the biggest improvement, and it wasn't immediate by any means. Like I don't know specifically what changed between Purdue and Arkansas, but something on that Notre Dame defense changed because they gave up 30 to Purdue. And then they gave up 13 to Arkansas, 7 to Boise State, 7 to NC State. While those aren't, like fantastic football teams, they're better than 7 points. And Arkansas's offense is better than 13 points. I can promise you that, especially at home. So their defense has gotten better, and that's really going to be the key to Notre Dame and their success throughout the rest of the season is, has that defense actually made the change? Like, is it a permanent change that you've made on your defensive side of the football now where you've figured it out? Because on offense, they have no problems. You can run down the scores, and you can tell their offense has no problems. CJ Carr is comfortable now. Their tandem of backs is really good. Their offensive line is solid. Obviously, they've got a really good tight end, and he has built a good rapport now, CJ Carr, with his receivers. Offense is fine. Is the defense here to stay? We're going to find out on Saturday against USC.
There's some interesting late games. Obviously, we start at Tennessee, Alabama, USC, Notre Dame. For people watching in Florida, there's Florida Atlantic, South Florida, who's South Florida's been really good. Utah, BYU is at 8. That's on Fox. I think that could be an interesting game. One game I want to throw out there because I had 2 weeks ago, we talked about San Diego State against Colorado State. We didn't, and you weren't on last week. So, San Diego State annihilated them. We were all over that game. So everyone at work was like, oh yeah, well, who you like? And I was like, I don't know. I'm going to run it back, man. Fresno State. And Fresno State got annihilated by Colorado State. Now Colorado State's playing Hawaii. Hawaii opened as a 1.5 favorite. Now it's 2.5 to Colorado State. And matchup predictor has Colorado State, who's 2-4, by the way, and Hawaii's 5-2, to win 72% chance to win. 72% chance to win, and the line's only minus 2.5. So that, and I don't know. Like I mean, Hawaii, Hawaii's got an interesting offense, Alejado, and they got that kicker. There was a big story about him today.
Oh God, what is it? He's got a nickname.
Toe, right? Tokyo Toe.
Yep, the Tokyo Toe. Yep, that is him.
And I just, I like the Mountain West is a fascinating league to me because once again, Wyoming played last week in the snow. Colorado State is 2-4. UNLV is leading right now 6-0. San Diego State's 5-1. Boise's 4-2. Fresno's 5-2, but that terrible loss last week. It's a crazy, crazy league, and you figure, if UNLV, and I know UNLV's not ranked right now, but if UNLV runs the table, beats Boise, New Mexico, at Colorado State, Utah State, Hawaii, and Nevada, and goes 12-0, and maybe wins the playoff, are they in a decent game? Do they have a chance to Steelers touchdown? Do they have a chance to make the playoff, or is it too late for them, do you think?
No, I think if you're going to make the playoff as a G5 team, you have to have
got to be ranked, right?
Yeah, you got to be ranked, and one loss is like a maximum. One loss still feels like you've like ruined your season to an extent, depending on who you lose to.
If they go 13-0, say they go 12-0 and then win the conference and go 13-0.
Yeah.
Do they deserve to be in a playoff over a team who's like, I don't know, like Notre Dame or something like that?
I don't know. I can tell you they do not deserve it over Notre Dame. Like sitting here right now, you line them up on a football field, they're not gonna. Notre Dame wins that every time. The team that I'm gonna look to, and really the conference that I'm gonna look to is gonna be USF. Like USF is a team that, yes, they have. If I remember correctly, they only have the one loss to Miami.
Yes.
So if you walk, like, if this was just like a hypothetical situation where everybody has to go turn in their schedule and their record to the College Football Playoff Committee and put down the paper on your desk, you're gonna look at USF's paper a heck of a lot different than you're gonna look at a UNLV's paper.
I'll tell you what, USF too has, they play FAU this week, who's 3-3. The following 2 weeks, the 25th and 11-6, they play 11-15. They play Memphis, who's ranked right now in 6-0, and they play UTSA, and then they play Navy, who's 6-0 and notoriously tough to play against. And Tulane is sitting there at 5-1 in the league and might have to play them in a playoff. USF has some chances here to win some, to beat some ranked teams and even bolster, because they played 3 ranked teams during the season. Now, Florida, whatever it is, you beat Florida, it's a good win, and Boise, whatever. But you play 3 ranked teams and you have a chance to play 2 more. If they play 5 ranked teams and go 4-1 against ranked teams when they played them, they 100% deserve to be in it with 1 loss.
Yeah. If they win out, if South Florida wins out, they are hands down. I don't think there's any competition. The G5 representative in the playoff. Like I don't think it's close. UNLV's played a lot of close games, like a lot of close games. Like it, I don't know if you've turned on the TV for UNLV every time. They were down a lot to Air Force last week.
Yeah, they score a lot of points, don't they?
Yeah, a not great Air Force team either. So they don't play defense.
Yes.
They just hope they outscore you. And so far they've outscored them. They've outscored the opponent 6 times. That's happened. So, good for them. They're going to get caught. UNLV.
Yeah, I'm trying to find their. When do they play this week? Oh, at Boise State. They play 3:30. UNLV plays at 3:30 against Boise State, which is a weird time to play out west. But yeah, they Boise State's a 10.5 point favorite against UNLV. Sorry, 12.5. Boise State's a 12.5 point favorite against a 6-0 team that's leading the conference.
I'll tell you what. That's
a lot of points, man.
If they beat Boise, and when I say beat Boise, I'm not talking like they walked off field goal, like they've had a lead
41-28, 41-31, something like that.
It doesn't even have to be multiple scores. I'm okay with a 1-score game. I just want to see that you're in some form of control of the football game, and it doesn't feel like this wackadoodle. What the heck's going to happen? Hey, we won. When you come out of the scrum, it's like, oh, look at that. We have more points sitting up on the scoreboard. So if it's something where it feels like there's a control aspect in the game for UNLV and they win this game, I'll change my tune about them and the way I view them in the playoff. But right now, I'm looking at this schedule. They beat Miami of Ohio by 3. They beat UCLA by 7. I mean, that was when UCLA still hadn't led a football game. So that's the team they beat. They beat Sam Houston by 17, Idaho State by 7, and then they beat Air Force by 3 in a 51-48 shootout.
51.
So I mean,
I love games like that, but you got to play. And there was 42 points scored in the fourth quarter. 42 points scored in the fourth quarter. UNLV scored 22. They scored on a 19-yard touchdown run with 36 seconds left. The quarterback, Colandrea, I mean, he lights up he's got some big stats. I mean, it's probably an interesting game to watch. And once again, there's so many games on it at 3:30, but it's tough to watch.
I was going to say, this is all hypothetical, but if UNLV goes 12-0, like regardless of how it looks, I know I've harped on how it looks. If UNLV goes 12-0, there's going to be a discussion to be had with an 11-1 South Florida. But just as soon as the discussion gets started, I think it ends when you look at the fact that South Florida would have, I think it would be 3.
They'd be 4-1 against ranked teams.
Yeah, they're probably going to have they're going to have at least 3 ranked wins when the season is over.
Yes.
So, 3 ranked wins versus the Mountain West schedule and UCLA, because that's what you're comparing. And I think that's where the conversation ends. Is you look at it and you go, yeah, USF played just so much more difficult competition, and you're assuming that Miami is still going to be up there, a team that they lost to. And mind you, they didn't. Oh, they did lose convincingly. I was going to say they played them close for a little bit. They didn't. It was 49-12. So that's my bad.
Can the Volunteers beat Alabama?
Can they? Yes. Will they? No. I like that. I feel like that's as cut and simple. Like this is another one where I look at it similar to the Georgia game, where you go, okay, this is a home team. Like 7.5 feels like a lot here. I think 7.5 is a lot for Alabama. Tennessee just feels like an incomplete football team to me right now. They really do. And they've scuffled along the way. They haven't lost, but they won by 3 against Arkansas, and they won by 7 in overtime against Mississippi State. So they haven't been beating the brakes off teams after Georgia. And I don't think they're going to have what it takes to win in Tuscaloosa. I think it'll be closer than 7.5, but they don't have what it takes to win in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Just to quickly, I know you said you were talking about baseball earlier. Do you know that there were people who thought that this Dodgers team was not going to do anything in the playoffs because they struggled in the they were 78-64 on September 6th. And at that point the Padres are right there and everyone said, oh, this stuff. And from that point on, they're 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. They're about to be 22-6, including, 5. They're 14-5 to end the season, to win the division. Tulsa just scored, and then East Carolina just scored. They're about to go up 3-0 in this series. They're up 3-1 in the bottom of the 7th. Ohtani is batting. Their pitching staff is ridiculous. They've only allowed 3 runs in basically 3 games so far. And the other game is it's interesting if the Blue Jays win today. I think it's a series. If the Mariners win, it could be. I think we're looking at Mariners Dodgers, but West Coast series. But I mean, the Dodgers, they won the title last year, and everyone thought they were going to win 110 games this year, and they didn't play well at times because they didn't have to. And as soon as they felt like as soon as they were a little bit threatened, they said, all right, I guess we'll start playing. They won 93 games while they struggled. And, as people are like, you can't turn it on. Well, yeah, they did. And they're dominant.
Yeah, I think earlier today, me and Jim probably spoke for maybe a half hour, like just glowingly about the Dodgers, just because like I'm sitting here, I'm looking at their lineup for today. There's 1, 2, 3. There's 3 guys hitting 300 in their lineup right now for the playoffs, and they're scattered throughout. And that's with Ohtani hitting 162. Like, their lineup is so complete, and they've been there before, and they've been there together as a group. I think that's what's really important, because I talked about it with the Mets when they got eliminated. I said, you can't buy a clubhouse. Well, the Dodgers they've spent the money, and they have the clubhouse to go with it. It's a horrifying combination. And if they win again this year, they guarantee like almost no baseball in 2027, just because it's going to ensure like the owners pushing for a salary cap.
Yeah, because it's at this point now. You can basically say who the playoff teams are going to be. Not all of them, obviously. You got the Tigers. But Tigers are very
Yeah.
talented, by the way. I mean,
Yeah.
through the draft and stuff like that. But you can guarantee it's going to be the Dodgers, the Phillies, the Yankees. The teams that spend the most money, the Padres, are always going to be
Yeah.
in the playoffs.
Yeah. Payroll matters, but when it comes down to LA and the reason that people were doubting them, and I'll be honest, I think they had good reason to doubt them. A lot of their pitchers were coming off of injury. Their bullpen hadn't looked very good throughout the year, but then they've gotten to the playoffs, and like in this NLCS, the first 2 games, their starting pitchers went 17 innings. They only played 18. Starters went 17, and they gave up 1 run combined across the 2 outings. Like that kind of starting pitching, it doesn't matter what logo you're wearing. When you get that starting pitching, you're probably going to win baseball games. So they're starting pitching like that. Their bullpen is pitching well tonight, which was really the big question mark. And so when you combine all that stuff and you have a team that's been there, and they are just as talented as they are because they are that talented. They've spent the money, but they are that talented. It makes for this what they've cultivated there over the last couple of years has become this unstoppable force.
Yep. Yeah, it's and obviously if they win it again, I mean, the heavy favorites. You're in Los Angeles, you're in Cal. I mean, the only thing about being there is the high taxes, but the weather's warm. You make a lot of money. You live in. I mean, it's a great place to live, and blah blah blah. And it's really just. It's really, really tough to compete, but it is what it is. I like watching the Dodgers. I think, and baseball needed. No, if it was the Brewers and the Blue Jays or the Brewers and the Mariners, there's going to be about 3 people watching it. So I think you need the Dodgers in it. So it is what it is.
Yeah, but what I will say is, if you're a fan of baseball and like you enjoy watching baseball, the Dodgers cannot win the World Series because you will not have baseball in 2027. It's not a guarantee as of right now, but there's a very high likelihood you have no baseball in 2027 if the Dodgers win this World Series. Which, it sounds insane to say that like one team winning the World Series 2 years in a row can shut a league down for a year, but it can't. Like this is the exact principle that they're going off of, because you have a team like the Brewers who aren't high spenders and have built through the draft and their player development. And they threw what their best team was, who the best team in the NL was, and so far they've got crushed. And if they go in there and the Dodgers crush either the Blue Jays or the Mariners, I think it'll be the Mariners, in the World Series, then it's a guarantee. So, there's that risk with the Dodgers.
Always the problem I have, and look, I mean, I guess the Premier League's not like this, but Paul Skenes, there's nobody in the universe thinks that guy's going to be in Pittsburgh in 3 years or 2 years or whatever, unless something changes.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. I mean, Skenes he's one of the best pitching prospects, like in terms of like hype and delivered, he's the best thing you could have asked for in terms of like coming out of college, number 1 prospect off the board, number 1 prospect throughout his time in the minor leagues. And then he comes out and you're like, well, surely he can't do what he did at LSU. This is the major leagues. He does. It does. Like he just shoves. Every time he goes out there, he shoves. He's got a below 2 ERA, and it doesn't matter because the Pirates are such a god-awful baseball team that I'm not even sure he reached double-digit wins this season.
He was 10-10.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, that guy's going to win the Cy Young.
10-10, and he unanimous. He's going to be unanimous Cy Young. Like his numbers are like 197 ERA, 200. Like it's crazy numbers. If he was on the Dodgers, he would have been 27-2. Like, you're not losing games. Like he pitched 32 games. If you're on the Dodgers, you're probably 22-3. I mean, and he's going to win unanimous.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't even have to go. It doesn't even have to go that deep. I mean, the Boston Red Sox weren't a fantastic they were a good baseball team this year, But Garrett Crochet went out there and he had like a 2.3 ERA, and they won like 20 games with him. Like that's what good pitching can and should
Look
look
what the
like.
Tigers did.
Yeah.
I mean,
Same thing with
Scoop,
Tigers and
I mean,
Terry.
yeah, the Tigers were, look, they lost in 15 innings to the Mariners. They're a bad, a little bit of a breakaway from playing the Blue Jays to go to the World Series again. And Scoop Ball, like their pitching staff is nasty. I covered Mize, I covered a lot of those guys when they were, because when they were at the Thunder, when I was covering the Thunder when they were with Erie. But this guy, same thing. I mean, he's 13-6, but he's two. His ERA is number one. His WHIP is number one. His Ks are number two. Like the guy's a freak, and
And guess what? He might be.
Tigers aren't even that good. Like if the Tigers, same thing. If you put him on the whatever, he wins 22 games too.
Yeah, and I'll throw this out there. I think he's going to get traded this offseason. I think he's very much a name. Yeah, I think he is very much a name that Detroit understands that when he hits the open market, because this year was not his free agent year. Next year is his free agent year. They know that they're not going to be able to compete right now in terms of money when he hits that open market. So they are probably going to very much be in a let's get what we can out of this guy situation. I'm not saying it's going to happen because that's a team that made the ALDS, so it's not a guarantee by any means. They still have a very good baseball team around him. They have a good staff around him, but you are looking at the scenario where this guy is a lefty who throws 100 and is probably going to be a back-to-back Cy Young winner, and you don't know if you can pay him. It's sad. It's really, really sad because these owners have the capabilities to pay them, but they don't want to.
Well, I was reading Boris saying he's not taking he's not going to take an extension.
No. And that's the other thing is like Boris clients, they don't take extensions. They know that, Detroit's not going to be an extension, but also, to the other side of being a Boris client, there is a certain aspect where if a Boris client has his destination picked out, he's going to, one, go there. He's going to where he wants to go. And two, he's going there for the best deal available because of Scott. So if there is a situation where Tarek goes, hey, I want to be in Detroit. Like, this is where I want to be. He's going to say, okay, like you're still hitting the free market, and we're going to get you the best money available. Now, the best money available in Detroit is something a lot different than the best money available in New York or LA or Boston. But, baseball is in a problem state because of how many teams they have that you start off the year and they ain't doing a damn thing this year. The Rockies, nothing. White Sox, nothing. Athletics, until they had a couple of guys come up and play like all-stars, they were nothing. So Marlins, nothing. Like these are teams that you're expecting to play poorly, and you're not expecting them to do anything. I
can't fathom that. As a Premier League, fan, like, you get these guys coming up, 2-3 teams coming up every year, and like, they're not coming up to go back down. They're in the Premier League, the big leagues, man. They're trying, like, it's just crazy. But this, with the revenue sharing and all this stuff, like the Pirates owner in particular, he doesn't care because he's making all kinds of money. He doesn't care.
Ben Sherrington's awful. What's that? I said Ben Sherrington's awful. Is that who it is, or have I been saying the wrong person? Whoever the owner is there. So. I think it's Ben Sherrington. He's either the owner or he's a random GM that I've had thrown around in Red Sox. Bob Nutting. Okay. So I've been throwing dirt on Ben Sherrington's name because I've used it a couple times. Sherrington's a front office guy. Yeah, I had him mixed up. No, Bob Nutting's terrible. He one of the worst owners in sports. His fans, they publicly display it when he decides to show his face at the park. He doesn't care because he's owned him
since 2007, and he's worth over $1 billion, and he's making money from this team. Like, that's the thing. Like, they make money at the expense of being good.
And I don't understand. I don't understand the disconnect with these owners. It feels so simple because you are profitable on day one. As an MLB owner, you are profitable on day one. That is the way it works. Spend money. You're going to make your money back. And if you make the playoffs, you're going to make more money. And your brand is going to become more valuable. And you're going to sell more tickets and more hot dogs if you put a decent product on the field. But they don't care about that because they're making money to start off with. And that's all that matters.
Every
Like,
single owner except for the Marlins owner is a billionaire.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
And the Reds owner, Castellini. Sorry.
yeah, it's mine. Because I mean the Reds made the playoffs. The Reds made the playoffs. They don't have their owner's not worth $1 billion, and yet they made the playoffs because they've they've drafted well. That's that. But they've made trades and they've been willing to pay some guys. Like they're not breaking the bank, but they know how to field a competitive roster. How have you had the complete and utter inability to do that your entire tenure in Pittsburgh with the guys you've had rolling in and out of there? One time. They've done it one time. They've been to the playoffs one time under Bob Nutting. It's ridiculous.
All right, we'll wrap up with that, and we'll go watch the end of this Tulsa East Carolina game, 17-14 in the second quarter. Steelers up 7-0 here. Incomplete pass on 3rd and 11. They're gonna have to punt here. Still first quarter. Dodgers are still up. Let's see what the score is. 3-1. Bottom of the 8th. They're 3 outs away from going up 3-0, and the series is over. There's no chance Milwaukee gets back into the series with the pitching staff that the Dodgers have. So it is what it is. That's without Kopech, Yates, and Tanner Scott, by the way. So, all right. Well, what you're on? What time tomorrow? 12. You're going over some more college games and maybe.
Yeah, I think 12 is when it is, and yeah, we'll do the full college slate probably, and probably touch on the NFL slate as well.
All right. Make sure you tune in to Matt and Jim tomorrow. And we'll be back next week. Oh, next week I'll be at Nottingham Forest and Porto over in England. So someone may be filling in for me with Matt. So we'll keep you posted on that. But just stay tuned to Capital Sports Network. And
absolutely.
All right. Good show, and we'll see you next week.